You are looking at the most damage physically inflicted on the White House since the British burned it 213 years ago. As the headline in the FA News notes, recidivist criminal smashes White House walls in sneak attack. Hello everybody, David Shuster here. When Donald Trump announced his plans for a $250 million ballroom, he insisted it would not disrupt or interfere with the current White House structure.
It won't interfere with the current building. It'll be near it, but not touching it, and pays total respect to the existing building.
But bulldozers have now ripped away portions of the East Wing. That part of the White House has been standing for 123 years.
Constructed in 1902, the East Wing houses the office of the First Lady, as well as the visitor's entrance where the public can begin tours of the executive mansion. Expected to cost $250 million, the ballroom will be larger than the White House residence itself.
Now, you wouldn't know it from the mainstream media coverage of the Trump demolition, but it turns out that knocking down part of the White House without pre-authorization is a crime. As the Washington Post reported in August, Trump is rushing to build his ballroom. A review process could take years. The National Capital Planning Commission, which has yet to consider the massive project, has taken months or years to approve much smaller changes at the White House. Quote, a security fence and a tennis pavilion, neither of which involve the White House itself, each took more than a year to move through the National Capital Planning Commission, which vets construction of and renovation to the region's federal building. And here's the latest news from the Associated Press. The White House has moved ahead with a massive construction project despite not yet having sign-off from the National Capital Planning Commission, which approves construction work and major renovations to government buildings in the Washington area. Again, lawyers and legal experts say approval by the commission is required by law. The Trump administration seems to know this and is already piling up evidence that shows consciousness of guilt. Headline, Treasury tells employees not to share photos of White House ballroom construction. Images of demolition of parts of East Wing go viral, and Treasury's headquarters next door to White House has front row seat. So here we go again. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, has chosen to turn the people's house into a personal playground. While the world watches and is beset by real problems, including geopolitical upheaval, economic anxiety, crises of democracy, Donald Trump is overseeing the unlawful demolition of part of the White House East Wing so he can host his own glittering ballroom. If you wonder why this matters, let me walk you through it, because it matters a lot. First, there's the symbolism. The White House is not just a residence or landmark. It's the very embodiment of an office that is supposed to represent the public interest. When a president sees the East Wing, a historic structure, as disposable, it signals a startling conclusion. My pleasure, my photo ops, my ballroom come first. That is not leadership. That is self-indulgence. Second, priorities. I'll wager that if you asked working Americans what they prefer the government handled today, very few would respond with, can we wipe out part of the East Wing so the president can throw grand parties for his wealthy friends? Yet that is exactly what we are seeing. The presidency has been reduced from public service to personal upgrade. Third, there is the history. The East Wing is not some throwaway structure. It carries generations of meaning, architecture, and institutional continuity. To demolish part of it for a ballroom is telling future generations we value spectacle more than substance. Fourth, there is the moral hazard. When the president chooses to remodel the White House for personal enjoyment, what message does that send down the chain of command? What are we saying to the rest of the government? That the very top is above America's heritage and above the public's respect? Now, I get that presidents and first families have made changes to the White House over time. Art gets swapped, rooms, including the Oval Office, get renovated. But there is a big difference between modest, necessary upkeep and gutting part of a wing for a ballroom whose benefit is primarily personal. So here's what needs to happen next. Democrats need to run against this abomination. As former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh wrote on Substack, if I ran for president in 2028, I'd run on taking a bulldozer to Trump's ballroom and utter desecration of the people's house. In fact, I'd invite the American people one weekend to bring their own sledgehammers and crowbars to the White House to help tear that abomination down. Joe is spot on. Democrats should put this in the platform they approve at the 2028 Democratic National Convention. Trump's demolition and construction are clearly illegal. So Democrats should pledge to rip the ballroom apart. Trump's actions are grotesque, unhinged, and crass. Leadership is about following the law and the Constitution, not trampling or renovating them for your own self-gratification. Donald Trump's actions literally must not be allowed to stand. Thankfully, reaction across much of the political spectrum on this day has been similar to MSNBC's Morning Joe.
Donald Trump, who promised that he was not going to take a wrecking ball to the existing structure, has taking a wrecking ball to existing structure. I got to say, Mick, it really is. It is hard to watch that, and it's hard to believe that any president could destroy the White House and take a wrecking ball to an existing structure so historic. That is what's happening. It'd be one thing if you were building on or you were doing things inside, but to take literally a wrecking ball to the White House, it's grotesque. It's just grotesque.
Yeah, and this after the Rose Garden and I guess the patio that they have put in, which you could argue, but this
far different.
Is painful. I mean, this is historic structure.
It's history being torn to shreds. And again, is everybody? I mean, so if somebody wants to go into the White House, the next person wants to just knock down all the walls and turn it into a disco. Congress can't do anything. I mean, seriously, you're destroying like one of the most historic structures on the planet.
Yeah. And the cost.
And are we saying that whoever we elect president has the right to destroy? Like what? Just tear things up, tear it to the ground, turn it into something else?
Trump's destruction of our Constitution, our values, our decency, and now our White House must be met with defiance and pushback. And if we really care about turning the page from Trumpism, let's make plans for 2028 and then inauguration 2029. Win the White House, and then, right after inauguration, tear apart whatever Trump has built, ballroom or otherwise. Trumpism and his monuments are a cancer that must be removed. By the way, Donald Trump's ICE agents in California are now facing a $50 million lawsuit after throwing a 79-year-old man to the concrete and breaking his ribs. ICE just threw him to the ground, breaking several ribs and injuring his arm, shoulder, and head. Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments, mostly along the lines of, "Sue ICE into oblivion." Indeed. I look forward to reading your comments about Donald Trump getting busted, breaking the law, as he demolishes part of the White House East Wing. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.